What really happens after the cameras stop rolling on one of YouTube's most beloved farming channels? For years, Larsson Farms has pulled viewers into a world most people never get to see. Massive harvest days, high-stakes planting seasons, expensive machinery, pushing through mud, snow, and breakdowns. But while the tractors and fields grab attention, it's the people behind the operation who turn this channel into something millions feel connected to. Fans have watched the same faces season after season, celebrating wins and grinding through setbacks alongside them. And when you follow someone that closely, you start noticing the small things. A familiar face appearing less often, a subtle shift in who's running the equipment, or moments that spark questions no one seems to answer directly. Naturally, curiosity has exploded. Viewers have begun asking, did something change behind the scenes? Are some of the stars stepping away? And what about the rumors floating through? Comment sections. Are they based on reality or just the internet doing what it does best? Today, we're digging deeper than the highlight reels and drone shots to uncover what's actually going on with the stars of Larsson Farms. Separating fact from speculation and revealing the truth about the people who built this farming phenomenon. Before Larsson Farms became a familiar name on YouTube, it was exactly what you'd expect. A hard-working, multi-generation farm rooted in the quiet fields of west central Minnesota. Long before thousands of viewers tuned in each morning, the Larsson family was already waking up before sunrise, racing against weather forecasts, and managing the kind of risks most people never think about when they pass endless rows of corn on the highway. Farming wasn't content, it was survival. Then something changed. Instead of keeping that world private, the family decided to turn on a camera and show everything. The good days, the stressful ones, and even the moments when equipment worth hundreds of thousands of dollars refused to cooperate. At first, the videos felt simple, almost understated. No flashy edits, no over-the-top personalities, just real people doing real work. But ironically, that raw honesty is exactly what pulled viewers in. Leading much of that charge is Chet Larson, whose steady presence quickly became the backbone of the channel. He doesn't come across like a typical internet personality. And that's the point. Whether he's troubleshooting a mechanical issue or pushing through an exhausting harvest stretch, there's a calm, focused energy that makes viewers feel like they're riding along in the cab with him. And once audiences felt that authenticity, they didn't just watch, they invested. Soon, other familiar faces helped shape the channel's identity. Dugo's experience, the older generation's wisdom, and the crew's natural chemistry created something rare on YouTube. A story that wasn't manufactured. It was unfolding in real time. But with visibility comes attention, and attention always brings questions. As the channel grew, fans started noticing patterns. Who was taking on more responsibility? Who seemed to step back? Why did certain people suddenly appear more or less armed than before? None of it looked dramatic on the surface, yet the smallest shifts were enough to spark curiosity across comment sections. Because when viewers feel like they know you, even normal life changes can look like the beginning of a much bigger story. And what fans began speculating about next would only deepen the mystery surrounding Larsson Farms. If there's one thing that separates Larsson Farms from countless other farming channels, it's the cast of personalities that viewers feel like they've grown up alongside. This isn't just a channel about crops and machinery. It's a rotating story of people, each playing a role in the day-to-day operation. And once fans started recognizing those faces, it didn't take long for favorites to emerge. At the center remains Chet, often seen as the steady decision-maker when pressure is high and timing matters. Farming isn't forgiving. A delayed planting window or sudden storm can cost a fortune. Yet, he rarely appears rattled. That calm leadership has quietly become one of the channel's biggest anchors, giving viewers a sense that no matter how chaotic things get, someone is firmly at the wheel. Then there's Dugo, representing the older generation of farmers whose experience can't be learned from a manual. Fans respect the way he approaches problems. Less rush, more instinct, sartansi, the kind that only comes from decades in the field. Many viewers even say his presence adds a layer of tradition to the channel, a reminder that Larsson Farms didn't start with YouTube. It started long before the internet ever existed. But not every familiar face comes with a clear backstory, and that's where curiosity really started heating up. Enter Brody. Unlike some of the family members whose history on the farm feels obvious, Brody's role has sparked ongoing conversation among viewers. He shows up often, works like part of the core crew, and seems completely trusted in high-stakes moments. Naturally, fans began asking questions. Is he family? A longtime friend? Someone being prepared for a larger role in the future? There hasn't been any dramatic reveals, and sometimes the channel simply moves forward without addressing the speculation at all. Yet that silence has only made viewers watch closer, analyzing interactions and reading between the lines. Because when someone blends into a tight-knit operation that seamlessly, people assume there's more beneath the surface. And the more the audience paid attention, the more they started noticing subtle shifts happening across the farm. At first glance, life on Larsson Farms looks almost predictable. Sunrise starts, long days in the cab, and a constant race against the seasons. But longtime viewers know that beneath that routine, farming is anything but stable. Every year brings new risks, bigger financial pressure, and split-second decisions that can impact the entire operation. And as the channel matured, fans began noticing that the stakes seemed higher than ever. Modern farming isn't the slow, simple lifestyle many imagine. Today, it's a high-risk business where a single piece of machinery can cost more than a luxury home, and one stretch of bad weather can erase months of effort overnight. When Larsson Farms shows equipment upgrades or massive harvest runs, it's exciting to watch, but it also hints at the enormous responsibility sitting on the shoulders of the people running it. Viewers started picking up on those hints. Some noticed that conversations and videos occasionally carried a more serious tone, especially during tight planting windows or unpredictable conditions. Others pointed out how quickly the crew had to adapt when plans changed without warning. Nothing looked staged. If anything, the pressure made the channel feel even more real. And that realism sparked a bigger question. How do you balance running a multi-generation farm while simultaneously operating a rapidly growing YouTube channel? Because make no mistake, filming adds another layer of complexity. There are cameras to manage, audiences to satisfy, and a public image to maintain, all while doing physically demanding work that doesn't pause for content. Yet the Larsson crew rarely breaks stride on camera, which only made fans wonder what the off-screen stress might look like. Some viewers even speculated whether the growth of the channel was quietly reshaping the farm itself, influencing decisions, expanding opportunities, or perhaps creating pressures no one talks about openly. Of course, none of this points to drama. It points to evolution. Still, when change happens gradually, it's often harder to spot, until one day, people realize the operation doesn't look quite the same as it once did. And that realization led fans to focus on something else entirely. The subtle shifts in who was stepping forward and who seemed to be stepping back. For a channel built on consistency, viewers are surprisingly quick to detect even the smallest change. It might be someone appearing less frequently in videos, another person suddenly taking the lead during major tasks, or a different voice explaining what's happening in the field. None of these moments come with announcements, yet to loyal fans, they rarely go unnoticed. One of the biggest talking points has been the natural transition between generations. Farming has always depended on this handoff, where knowledge moves from those who've spent decades working the land to the next group ready to carry it forward. On Larsson Farms, that shift doesn't feel forced or dramatic. Instead, it shows up quietly, a younger face operating expensive machinery, making key decisions, or guiding the workflow during critical stretches of the season. For many viewers, this was fascinating to watch. It signaled growth, stability, and long-term planning. But for others, it sparked questions. Was the older generation intentionally stepping back? Were they easing into retirement after years of relentless labor? Or were these simply normal adjustments that happen on every successful family farm? There hasn't been any official statement suggesting sudden departures or internal tension. In fact, when longtime members appear on screen, the chemistry still feels effortless. The same dry humor, the same teamwork, the same sense that everyone knows exactly where they belong. Yet the reduced visibility of certain figures was enough to get comment sections buzzing. Because on the internet, silence often invites interpretation. Some fans even wondered whether the physical demands of farming were beginning to shape who handled the toughest jobs. After all, this isn't light work. It's long hours, heavy equipment, and unpredictable conditions. Stepping back wouldn't be shocking, it would be human. Still, what makes Larsson Farms compelling is how these transitions unfold without spectacle. No dramatic farewells, no emotional send-offs, just the steady rhythm of a farm adapting the way it always has. But while generational change explained some shifts, it didn't explain everything viewers thought they were seeing. And the growing attention around one particular figure would soon push speculation into overdrive. By this point, viewers weren't just watching Larsson Farms for the harvest footage, they were watching the people. And no one seemed to draw more curiosity than Brody. The more he appeared, the more audiences started asking the same quiet question. How did he become such a trusted part of the operation? Unlike multi-generation family members whose history feels woven into the land itself, Brody arrived without a long on-camera backstory. Yet, almost immediately, he blended into the rhythm of the farm, operating serious equipment, stepping into high-pressure moments, and working with the kind of confidence you don't hand to just anyone. On a farm where mistakes can cost thousands in seconds, trust isn't given lightly. Naturally, the comment sections lit up. Some viewers became convinced he had deeper roots with the Larsons than most people realized. Maybe a lifelong friend, maybe someone connected through the local farming community. Others floated theories that he could represent the future of the operation, especially as farms across America face a shrinking pool of younger workers willing to take on such demanding lifestyles. But here's the reality. The channel has never framed his presence as some dramatic storyline. There's been no grand introduction, no emotional explanation, just a hard-working figure showing up and getting the job done. And sometimes, that normalcy is exactly what fuels the biggest mysteries online. Because when audiences aren't given every detail, imagination fills the gap. Still, if you look closely, nothing about Brody's role suggests secrecy or controversy. If anything, his involvement highlights something quietly powerful, so successful farms often rely on more than just family. Trusted neighbors, skilled operators, and longtime friendships can become just as essential as bloodlines when the workload intensifies. Yet the speculation refused to slow down. Viewers continued analyzing conversations, screen time, even background interactions, searching for clues that might explain his growing importance. And while most of those theories remain just that, theories, they reveal something bigger about Larsson Farms. People aren't just invested in the crops anymore, they're deeply invested in the cast. But just as fans were busy trying to decode Brody's place in the story, another question began surfacing. One that had less to do with any single person and more to do with the future of the farm itself. As Larsson Farms continued to grow, it became clear that the channel was no longer just documenting farm life. It was becoming part of the farm's identity. What started as simple uploads gradually transformed into a massive digital window, giving hundreds of thousands of viewers a front row seat to decisions that, years ago, would have stayed completely private. And with that visibility came a new kind of pressure. Running a large-scale farm is already a non-stop responsibility, but adding a camera changes the dynamic in ways most people never consider. Every equipment purchase, every expansion, every risky weather call suddenly plays out in front of an audience ready to analyze it. For the Larsson crew, that means balancing authenticity with the awareness that thousands are watching their next move. Some fans began wondering whether YouTube itself had quietly reshaped the operation. After all, the platform can open doors. Stronger business connections, brand partnerships, and additional revenue streams that traditional farms rarely had access to. Those opportunities can accelerate growth, but they also raise the stakes. When your visibility increases, expectations tend to rise right along with it. Yet what stands out is how little the channel leans into theatrics. There are no exaggerated conflicts, no staged tension, no obvious attempts to manufacture drama. If anything, Larsson Farms feels almost resistant to the chaos that often follows internet success. The focus remains on the work. Still, viewers notice the scale creeping upward, bigger machinery, increasingly complex logistics, and the kind of coordination that suggests long-term strategic planning. Expansion in farming usually signals confidence, but it also signals risk. One unpredictable season could test even the most prepared operation. That reality sparked a quiet but powerful question among followers. Is the farm preparing for the future, or bracing for challenges no one can fully control? Because agriculture has always been a gamble against forces far beyond human influence. Markets, weather patterns, fuel costs, and timing that has to be nearly perfect. And while the Larsson team rarely shows worry on camera, Seasoned viewers know that resilience is often built long before trouble ever arrives, which leads to the biggest realization of all. Nothing about Larsson Farms suggests something went wrong. Instead, everything points to evolution. But as history has shown, periods of growth are often the moments that shape what comes next, and not everyone who watches is convinced the story will stay this steady forever.